All right. Hey, everyone. So, welcome to this hot seat with Scott Humphreys. Scott has been a member of the High Ticket Accelerator program for what is it, about 5 months now, maybe 6 months, kind of around that range. Has been doing great stuff, generating clients, getting inbound leads. And today is really our main focus to dive into his story, right? Understanding him, where he's been, what challenges he might have been facing before we started working together, what he really started working on, what were the highest impact things for him in the program, and then kind of diving into like what's next for him. So the main goal is to give those of you watching a very clear understanding, very clear breakdown, and a roadmap of what it actually takes to reach success within the program. And so, with that being said, I want to turn it over to you, Scott. I'd love to hear more about just kind of like give us a background, who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into some more stuff after that.
Great. Thanks, Garrett. And so, Scott Humphreys, I am the owner and CEO of the Right Path Marketing, and we help business to business service providers get 30% more leads in their first 4 months. And that's a tagline that I worked on with you guys. I've been at it for 2+ years. We do a combination of web design, search engine optimization, paid advertising campaigns. Really, though, what I like to do is start with the branding, the brand, both the messaging. We do the visual branding as well because you really got to get to the essence of what a business is all about, what sets them apart. Because I think about
Absolutely.
80% of businesses out there, especially in competitive marketplaces, don't do that.
Yeah,
And so they're not going to grow much beyond referrals if they do. So
totally.
that's
Absolutely.
that's what we work on here at the Right Path Marketing.
Fantastic. Yeah. And definitely a big point, kind of talking what you brought up. Like so many companies, they just kind of like blend in with the noise nowadays. And really to be able to differentiate yourself will allow you to not only raise prices, attract better clients, but without the right branding in place, which is a lot of what you work on, it can be kind of a challenge to stand out and actually, get the right clients and have people even recognize you and be able to grow your business for sure. So I want to dive into kind of where you were before we started working together in the program, right? So if you can break down maybe two, maybe three of the biggest roadblocks that you faced, before we started working together when it came to, sales, marketing, positioning, everything we talk about in the program. What were the two to three biggest for you?
Biggest roadblock, I think, mentally was interestingly enough, I wasn't differentiated enough or specific enough in my offering.
Totally.
I started the business going to like a lot of local chamber of commerce and networking meetings, and I build up a good referral base that way.
Yeah.
However, the leads that come in are not quite as focused, all over the map. I'm learning different type of businesses for the at different sizes,
Yeah.
uh, and every project just is a big chore as a result.
Totally.
So, that's the biggest roadblock was really my own branding and messaging, and
Yeah.
then getting getting better leads as a result. And also, I'd say the other roadblock is the sales process.
Mm,
Interestingly enough, before I started my agency, I was in business to business sales for a very long time, been to a ton of different sales programs.
yeah.
Um, but getting the right sales process down for my business,
Hmm.
and especially the meeting, the actual closing meeting. I've
Totally.
tried a lot of different types of approaches,
Yeah.
and I think I don't know if I'm better for it.
Mm,
The approach I took for a long time, even prior to starting this, was more of a consultative sales
hmm.
approach, which sounds great, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna listen to them, and then we're gonna customize something,
Yeah.
and then you end up going off in too many different tangents. You're a little too
Yeah.
unfocused. You end up having these longer conversations than necessary, and the sales process just becomes uh,
Yes.
a big effort as a result.
Totally. No, that's a great breakdown. And with the positioning, absolutely. Like whenever I first started Delta Lead, just doing lead gen, I was trying to serve everyone, right? I didn't want to miss out. I didn't want to miss out on any business.
Mhm.
And I wanted to try and capture as much revenue from everyone as possible. the biggest challenge is that every time I would meet with a new lead or talk with someone new, it was like I had to do a crash course on their entire industry. What was their company
Right,
size?
right.
Who were
Yep.
their employees? What were their challenges? And like it was so draining that by the time I actually got to the sales process, you know, let's say half of the time they would have said no anyways, and I just wasted a bunch of time and energy. And now I'm out kind of square one
Yeah,
looking to find
yeah.
anyone I
And
never
you want to
want.
close those walls a little bit. Yeah, in
Absolutely.
my case, I'm still not like super tunnel narrow, which is I think is okay.
Yeah.
But I have a better, like I have better guardrails up, right? I
Yes.
know where not to go. I know where to say, I'm not going to chase this anymore. This is not the
Yeah.
right type of business. And then on the flip side, I've noticed the leads that have come to me have been a little bit, have been better leads as a result. So
Absolutely.
after I optimize my LinkedIn profile, going through your program, I'm still working through a rebranding. I actually should have my website redone in the next couple days. It's final touches there,
Awesome.
but the getting going through that process, and we can talk about the things I've gotten out of the program. There's quite a bit,
Yeah.
but um, your brand is really your revenue generator, your value generator,
Sure.
right? Testimonials are part of that, and it's a key, but it's not the whole thing.
Right.
It is how you present yourself, and
Yes.
that I think was one of those points that I don't know, your colleague there, Farrell.
My
You
wife, Farrell, yeah.
mentioned in one of her video. I don't
Yeah.
know if you get along with her
Had
at
to get
all.
branding. Yeah, the branding stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was really like that line right there really, really resonated with me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and so that is like, well, I do this for my own customers, but I'm sort of
Yeah.
like chasing, like trying to help them. I need to build my own brand as a result.
Oh
And you
yeah.
guys gave the building blocks for that. And I'm in a much better position now than I was before.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's Solomon's paradox, right? Like we give better advice to others than we take ourselves. I think everyone
Totally.
can resonate with that. But yeah, with positioning, you could have the exact same consultant, exact same expertise, exact same skill set, but one who positions himself properly to the right audience is going to have a higher perceived value, and that's who's going to win, right? Whoever has the biggest perceived value, like, can this person actually help me solve my problem? Can I know that in 2 to 3 seconds, which is branding, positioning, by checking out their
Mhm.
LinkedIn profile? If you can't tell them that, they're going to move on to someone else, right? And so making sure you can really talk to the right individuals and present yourself in the right way so they understand very quickly what you do, how you help them, how they can see results. Like that is absolutely key for positioning. So great stuff
Mhm.
there. I wanted to also touch on the sales stuff you mentioned. And if you're not first, you're last, right? It's a quote from Talladega Nights, the race movie with Real Ferrell, but like all the time and energy put into lead generation and branding and positioning and sending DMs, you can't close the deal at the end of the day. It's gonna be a lot of time wasted and energy wasted. And especially with the consultative approach, you're probably putting a lot of time and energy into that process beforehand. And then 3, 4, 5 calls down the line, they're like, oh, there's no budget. Oh, we're not interested. And like you just wasted all that energy. And so being able to qualify quickly, moving through a set process, I think is definitely benefited you positively for sure. So I want to also kind of circle back a little bit as well. What are some of the strategies and approaches like you tried before you joined the program? Like, what are some of the things you might have tried hiring someone, maybe joining other programs? Like, what does that look like? And like, maybe why do you think they maybe didn't work as good as going through this process?
Great question. Yeah, so I had used two really one person owned companies, or they had
Yeah,
they had vendors and VAs kind of helped them out, but they were cold email generation, which is, yeah, I don't have any issue with cold email in itself,
yeah,
but uh they took a very generic approach to it, the first company, and then the second company was trying to change kind of who I was to kind of
mm,
fit their process. And
mm,
both situations were it just I got a few leads out of it, but nothing really came of it. And
yeah,
what was missing, and what I found with Delta Leads,
mm,
was that process that you took me through and you
mm,
take your clients through,
mm,
where they do this deep dive as to who they're best equipped to serve.
yeah,
And I took like a look into my past. I worked as a B2B salesperson in a financial services area. Uh, I have a dad that's an attorney, so professional services is sort of like a strand of that. And that helped me shape. And then I looked at some of my client wins as well and factored that in as well. That helped me shape to where I am now, where I look at it as okay, uh, B2B financial services, legal services companies in that 1 million to $2.5 million area is where I'm targeting.
Mhm.
That is a good fit for what I have to offer and what I can
Yes.
bring them.
Totally. Yeah. And so many people can try to force you through their cookie cutter process, right? But the thing is, most of the times, if it doesn't really lean into a lot of your natural expertise and skill set and experience, you're going to be swimming upstream, right? You're literally
Yeah,
fighting the current, trying to make something work that on paper works, but maybe it doesn't work for you exactly. And so, yeah, I'm glad to hear that experience has helped you really kind of identify things and position yourself properly based on your experience, your process, where you want to focus, your passion. And that's super important to building anything sustainable for sure. And so, one of the pieces I wanted to mention as well when it comes to you kind of hired some done for you email side of things. It was a done for you service, right? They build it out for you. Yeah. And so one of the biggest challenges with a lot of done for you lead gen, the outsourced lead gen in general, I know because I used to run one, is that typically they have like a 30% success rate, meaning 30% of the time you'll get a return on your investment. And so the biggest reason for that is that you're hiring someone else to come in and develop a process for you, right? And like you don't really know what good looks like first. And as soon as I learned those stats, I was working with a mentor, and he said he had a friend that was in my space, really scaled up. He was doing, 1 million a year, 2 million a year. He was saying only 30% of their clients actually succeeded. And I'm just like, whoa,
that's too
that
much of a
is
roll of the dice. And
right.
I look back at all the mistakes that you either you win or you learn, and I did a lot of learning in that situation. The
Totally.
but yeah, you have to. What I liked about your program is you're teaching me how to do the fishing, and
Exactly.
I think before I can put together SOPs for
Yes.
the sales staff and things like that, I need to do it. And I like your focus on efficiency too. You don't just kind of set the um, sort of the overall strategy, but really a lot of the tactics too.
Yes. Focus. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, like focusing on the right things, the highest leverage tasks, leaning into what's worked best for you in the past, 100%. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's teaching you how to fish so you know what good looks like first so you can hire someone in. If you don't know what good looks like, then you're just, like you said, rolling the dice, you're gambling, trying to find someone who might work, may not. You end up wasting a lot of time and money in most cases. So I want to dive into kind of some of the things that you started to experience. You've already shared a few, but like what were some of the biggest shifts that actually helped you start seeing results? And we talked about positioning being one of those. Is there anything else in that same vein or anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think standardizing the sales deck, I
Yeah.
think that really grounded my conversations.
Yeah.
Not having too many different paths to go into.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was able to come up with like a three tier type of package in the end.
Mhm.
Um, and while I think you're probably an advocate of having that one package. I think three is still an improvement over 50. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
and so I feel like that's in a good place. If they're an ideal customer, they'll see the value in what I'm offering.
Yeah.
Um, and price is less likely to be an issue. It's really more or less getting either the funds together or getting the right
Exactly.
people involved in the decision making.
For sure. Yeah. So I know one of the things that I believe you're dealing with before we started working together is that because you were kind of spread pretty broad, when you would get clients, didn't have a really clear structured offer for them in the beginning. And most of the times it could be low ticket. Do you find that really having those clear offers really allowed you to not only raise prices, find better clients? Like what has that experience been narrowing down on those
Yeah.
offers?
I mean, I think the two clients that I um, got my business into a more stable situation, right? I
Yeah.
think after going through those done for you services that
Too
you know,
much.
just threw money away at them.
Yeah.
This is, this has helped put me in a position where now I'm primed to really grow and take off. And having the branding gives me the confidence, the branding,
So,
and having the things in place. I'll tell you, it's this program is not for the faint of heart. It's not easy.
yes.
There's a
It's
lot
not.
to it. You
Yeah.
got a ton of valuable content, but it really does all fit together.
Yes.
And that clarity,
Yeah.
and it's hard to find because I've
Absolutely.
I've looked, I've had business coaches, I've had what I told you about,
Yeah.
and like they're just everyone's trying to find that clarity in how to build, and you have the blueprint down.
No, totally. Yeah. And for sure, like a lot of processes, they tend to come in like halfway in the process at the very end. But like if you don't really build the business off a clear ICP, a clear avatar, who you're going after, it's going to be like you're trying to build a skyscraper and a foundation for a house on sand, right? And so when you have that concrete, really solid avatar in place,
Mhm.
everything naturally and also has to build foundationally. And I do also
Right.
want to say that like you're absolutely right. Like this is not for the faint of heart, and there really are no shortcuts for anyone listening. Like there are no shortcuts to success. Like whether you can get there faster, maybe, but like you're gonna have to really put in the time and energy, work on yourself, change your beliefs, your identity, learn the skills, learn the wisdom, learn the knowledge. And that doesn't come easy to a lot of people, right? I want to stress that.
And
Absolutely.
it really is like lifting a heavy weight. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't click sometimes, not I mean, or it's a conditioning thing to just sort
Yes.
of a rewiring of it all. And so I still got a ways to go, but where I've come and where I am right now, there's been some huge progress.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And on that note, do you want to talk any specifics on kind of like some of the results that you've seen? Kind of share just in general when it comes to inbound leads, client close, share as much as you like in that case.
Yeah, I would say the client close has yielded the benefits of
Yeah.
me getting my business in a stable position where, I don't have to necessarily focus on it 24/7.
Yeah.
Um, it's still work I'm putting into both going through your program and using the business, but
Yeah.
it's given me a little bit of breathing room, which is great. And again, it's
Fantastic.
just like the discovery phase. Know now that I have for an inbound lead a 30-minute call where we go through a list of questions. I've been through all types of sales training, Garrett, and yours kind of like pieces together some of the best aspects of them, but in a really logical, like I'll sometimes listen. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
So the guidelines are clear. Getting it down takes some effort, and you offer that sales practice, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I think I think it's the close having like a really solid sales process, which is clean, is not too quick, yet
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't have these long, burdensome sales processes where I'm doing a lot of research and work and
Yeah.
prep and all this stuff. So,
For sure. I can remember when I first started going into sales calls, I was always just like so nervous. Like, what are they going to say? What am I going to say? What are they going to do? Like, how am I going to take
mm,
this? But I think from
yeah,
what I've gotten, you might agree, like having that consistent, repeatable process, knowing that you're using frameworks and approaches to just get to the truth, right? Get to the truth
right.
about where someone is, what they actually want, what they need help with. That's given me a ton of confidence. And I'm sure it's given you at least more confidence in your process as well. So that's great
Yep,
to
it
hear.
sure has. Yep.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned kind of with the high ticket branding that my wife put together, there was kind of an aha moment for you. Do you want to dive deeper into that? What you felt like was really there? Like, what was the big shift for you that you realized? Was it like how your audience was perceiving you? What do you feel like it was?
Um, I think how I was perceiving myself,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
totally.
I wasn't clear. And it wasn't so much a confidence issue as a clarity issue,
Yeah.
right? It's like who am I best equipped to help?
Yes.
And then I just think in that training, the emphasis was on, you need to focus on your brand hard and really commit yourself to it, really hold yourself accountable to it,
Yeah.
because this is the revenue generator for you.
Totally. Yeah.
So that's
100%.
what, yeah, just that right there,
Yeah.
I think is what makes sales easier to close. Again,
Yes.
that's what I help my clients with. But for
Yes.
some reason, I was not,
Yeah.
going deep enough on my own. And so sometimes you just need that outside perspective and someone who can communicate it in a clear way, which you and Farrell have done tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and with the branding, positioning, one piece I was going to say around that. But yeah, basically, I know there are a lot of experts in the program who are probably watching this, and others who are watching this in general. You're an expert at what you do, and you can very clearly explain your process like the back of your hand. But if you can understand it, it doesn't mean that your audience might understand it, right? And I think a lot of people have their own perception of their brand, like, oh, I'm being very clear. But then someone comes to their profile who's an ideal client, they're like, what does this guy even do? You know what I'm saying? And so being able to position your brand in a way like, what do I want my audience to think about me? How do I want my audience to view me? How do I want them to take action? Right? How do I want them to show up? What impacts do I want to have on their business? And like building your business in a way to where it's tailored for them. Because ultimately, our businesses exist for the customer, not for us. In the beginning,
Yeah,
they existed for us, right? But as time progresses, it's just like a child growing up. Your business becomes less reliant on you as you grow. And again, it's ultimately built to serve the customer. And so being able to really kind of remove your own ego and your own stubbornness from how you want things set up the right way, your messaging set up, and just doing it in the way that's going to resonate most of the ideal client. I think it's something a lot of individuals can struggle with for sure.
interesting. And I heard this somewhere else, but it ties into a lot of what we're talking about. Made me think of this program too.
Yeah.
Is a lot of entrepreneurs, the mistake they make is they especially because they come from a background of employment, was
Mm-hmm.
when they enter a discovery call, they enter it with a similar mindset as somebody interviewing for a job,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to work for you, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're going to, and as opposed to, here's what, you'll get from working with me.
Yes.
Like that's, it's sort of like you're I mean, the good job interviews have a brand and all that, but
Yeah.
the way this was described really seemed to make sense. I don't know if I'm fully
Yeah.
justifying it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a different mindset. And I think the way you lay out the branding in your branding program,
Yeah.
and positioning, and not just make something up,
Yeah.
right? Because I think that's what people do is they make, I'm going to try this ideal client. I'll try. I chase
Yes.
that. I think,
Niche
client
slapped.
hopping.
Yeah. Yeah. Niche hopping. Yeah. You need
Niche
a niche
hopping,
slap. Yeah.
right? Niche hopping.
Yeah.
It gets tiresome because you're just kind of thrown. Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Versus when you really do that inward, deep, methodical approach to who are we best equipped to serve, and
Yeah.
then you go from there, and then you build
Totally.
a message and the tagline and the LinkedIn page.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, and ultimately it comes down to, like stating the facts, telling the truth, right? You're talking to individuals, you're in the beginning, you're validating, you're genuinely wanting to understand what they want, what their challenges are, and you're saying, "Hey, here's what I got. I'll move things forward or not," right? And like just being able to really position your brand properly in a way that not only aligns with yourself, but is also talking to clear outcomes. It just, I think it keeps that integrity aligned and allows you to really push forward and actually grow the business. It's not entirely related, but I kind of got some hints at what you're mentioning there for sure. So, what would you say to someone who either just joined the program or has been considering the program or just entirely new? Like, what would you say to someone in the position like yourself in the very beginning? What are some of the things that you might say to them? Not necessarily just about the program, but just like in general, like what they need to do, what they need to take action on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think my advice is pretty much do what
Yeah.
you're advocating. I mean, do what you're saying.
Practice what
Um,
you preach. Yeah. Eat your own
yeah,
cooking. Yeah.
yeah, no, do the program, like follow it, try following it like to a T.
Right.
And then, be patient a little bit with the process,
Mhm.
meaning, this stuff is not, there's no magic wand, right? It's,
Sure.
it's, it's a deep dive type of thing. It's an AP class. It's an MBA program.
Yeah.
Um, but celebrate the wins along the way.
Yes.
That's what I would say. And
Absolutely.
the resources that you guys have are tremendous. So, dig in, do it,
Yeah.
ask questions. The community's good. Uh, so yeah, I think just simple advice is just take it head on.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to bring another point to that as well. It's like all the information out there to make $200 million a month is there if you wanted to on YouTube University, right? So many people have made so much great free content. I think the real benefit, at least from my perspective, and you might share differently from the program, is that first of all, it's built foundationally towards like here's the next step, here's the next step, here's the next step, here's the next step. So you don't have 20 different pieces of information from 20 different people who have used 20 different strategies to get to
Yeah,
where they are now. It's
that's a
all
great
built
point.
in one
Yeah,
piece. Yeah,
no,
for sure.
I've experienced that. That I think is has been a very huge factor um, in my progress with the program is
Yeah.
the step-by-step approach, right?
Yes.
You when you go to one chapter of the learning,
Yeah.
it is, well, first of all, there's interactive worksheets and stuff you got to do, and you're building out your process, your sales, your brand, and so like you can't like just do like one lesson in chapter 3 and jump ahead. You have to go along the way, and
Yes.
that's going to just help up here, right?
Totally.
So yes,
Absolutely.
that is a very key aspect.
Yeah, and especially with like I was saying, there's so much information out there nowadays to where like you're just getting bombarded with constant pieces, and you ultimately
Mhm.
almost build a Frankenstein business to where you're taking someone else's sales process, someone else's DM process, someone else's offer, and like
I know. Yeah.
like I said before, there's a million ways to make $1 million, but like if you take a million different ways and try to put them together, you're not going to really get very far very
Yep.
fast. And
For sure.
also, just kind of one thing to touch on the community, the accountability. That's also an important piece, I believe, in making sure people actually show up and take action. What has that experience been for you with the accountability, the community, accountability Tuesdays, the stuff we talk about there? How has that impacted you in the business?
Yeah, it's forced me to like I got to do this like with outreach, and it just puts me on notice to do the things that I want to do or get my guide finished or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, and it's been super helpful. Everyone in there is cool, and helpful to one another, and cheers each other on. That's
Yeah,
always very useful to folks building businesses because
yeah,
there is that psychological where you kind of feel like you're at it alone. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a
Especially as
good
an entrepreneur.
community, good Q&A going back and forth, and I think I've gotten some good advice from other people in the community that I've put in place.
Absolutely. For sure. That's great. So what's next for you after you've built this foundation? Let's say the next 6 months to a year. What do you think is coming up? What are you working on? What's the focus? Just curious.
It's the outreach, getting those 50 to 60 DMs at least a day. Maybe I can set my my numbers higher as a result
Sure.
because I think I do have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
Right now it's still, it's like running a half marathon, which I've done a couple times. When you first start out, you're doing 2-3 miles, then
Yeah.
then you build it up from there.
Yeah.
And the brain's still kind of getting used to the practices of all that, but it's just I
For
have
sure.
to stick with it. And that right there too, that's that's business advice that I think is common, but still folks don't.
Doesn't click.
I
Yeah.
get deterred too. I mean, I hear those voices in my head say, "Is this the right way to do it? Is this going to yield?
Yeah.
I haven't got anything yet."
Yeah.
Just do it. Take pride in completing those those daily DMs. You talked about doing it, getting up early in the morning and doing
Yeah.
it by a certain time. I think that's pretty useful. I think
Yeah.
putting together a routine where you're
Yes.
you're reaching out, you have that sort of like tone that you talk about that I think really sets the DM process
Yeah.
apart from a lot of the garbage that you get on LinkedIn.
Sure. Wasteland to pitch laps. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a quote from Alex Hormozy to where it's like the world belongs, maybe he got it from someone else, but it's like the world belongs to those who can take action without seeing the results, right? And a lot of what we do as business owners, especially, like we're not going to see results for maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months down the line of taking consistent action. And the thing is, most people will probably give up when they don't see, that result in 1 month and 2 months. But if as long as you keep pushing forward, you're going to like forge yourself almost. You're going to get better. It's like maybe I should have said that. I didn't book a meeting there, so maybe I should have changed the question here. And like just by getting out there and doing it consistently, you are going to get better. Unless you're insane and like entirely stubborn and just like not taking any advice from yourself or even listening and just repeating the same thing. Like most people are not like that. And so by getting out there, taking
Yeah,
action, it allows you to sharpen yourself ultimately.
despite the fact I've been in sales for so long, I definitely overthink what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, and uh, sh uh, she from our
Like,
community said,
yeah,
give yourself permission to screw up. Give yourself permission to make these mistakes.
absolutely.
And and you do a great job of saying, I mean, you have the mathematical formula. The data doesn't lie. You need to do a certain amount of DMs if you want to make a certain amount of money.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And 70% is good enough. Imperfect action is better than no action. And
Which
those
is
are
where
really big
that
things.
brand backs you up. That's
Yes.
so right there. When you have that branding in place, when you have the position and the message,
Yeah.
and who you're best described to serve, you
Yeah.
can it's a great way to smooth those rough edges out when you have them.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I love the way you can actually really start at least when you get to a point in business where you have that brand really dialed in, you have a content system really moving, you know that you can take
Mm,
one small action here, but
right,
some individuals, some may not, but individuals are going to kind of almost get sucked into your world, right? Where they're going to start
yeah.
viewing a video and then view a piece of content and then opt in for this. And you start sending them emails. I find it so fascinating for me to know, like, I'm taking one action here, but there
Mm,
are potential 5 to 10 other actions that can not only change this person's
right.
life and add a ton of value to them, but ultimately, move us closer and hopefully have the chance to work together in the future. And that's when that's where you start generating leads in your sleep, if you will, right? Which becomes a really fun thing to
Looking
work on.
forward to that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So where can people connect with you personally, Scott, if they want to learn more? Your LinkedIn, your website, where should they
Yeah,
go?
me personally, LinkedIn is the best place. Scott A. Humphreys or Scott Humphreys, you'll be able to find me, owner of the Right Path Marketing. Our website is the rightpathmarketing.com. And so you can find out more about our services there and how we can help you grow your lead base for your business.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, awesome stuff. Really appreciate your time, Scott. And for anyone watching, you're part of the program. If you have any questions for Scott, you can leave some comments down below the post I'm going to make. If you're not part of the program, you want to learn more about what we actually do here in the High Ticket Accelerator program, I'll also leave a link probably in the video below, in the description below for you to click on about 12 minutes. It'll break down our process start to finish. And if you're interested in learning more, we can talk about what that looks like. But yep, Scott, really appreciate your time. It's great to chat
Thank you.
with you. You've been doing awesome
That was
work
great to be here.
and keep it up. All right.
Thank you,
Take care.
sir.